Hey, come on in, everybody. Come on in. Come on in. Let's see what we got here. Let's get this up so we can get going. Sorry, I'm another couple minutes late, but not too bad. Not too bad. Where's Mary Alice? Is Mary Alice in there? Let's see if Mary Alice is in. All right. Okay, it's time for the Pledge of Allegiance. As always, let's do the pledge. Stand if you will. Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen, I got to find the link. General Flynn gave a speech on the Pledge of Allegiance a few weeks ago, and the clip of it, the beginning of it, is phenomenal. I'll find the clip. I'll put it up. But Pledge of Allegiance, so important. Here we go. Let's do the pledge. Stand if you will. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Well, thank you. Well, I was just talking to a friend of mine down in Texas. Texas. He's got a business partner in Texas. I was talking to a friend of mine in Florida, and he was telling me about a local election a few weeks ago where, lo and behold, the conservative is winning the whole time until it's nighttime. They stop counting, and when they come back, the liberal wins in Florida. So if that sounds familiar to you, you should be aware that that's the playbook right now, right? So here's my question. Here's my question for you. How much do you mistrust the elections? Because it doesn't matter how we got here. It matters that we're here, right? It doesn't matter why people don't trust the election. It matters that they don't. And the real danger for you and I, if you're watching this, you and I, we're probably so fired up and we see what's happening and we're thinking about what's going on. And by the way, I have a new test in the office here downstairs. I have a TV, and you leave it on mute with closed captions, so I can see what's going on, the images, and it reminds me of a story. And I can read what the speakers are talking about if I want to see what's going on. Reminds me of a story that there was. Meet the Press, the anchor of Meet the Press. So I can't remember. Chuck Todd. And I'm thinking of Rush Limbaugh when he makes fun of F. Chuck Todd. And so Chuck was saying how offended he was that whenever Trump was on Meet the Press in the old days, he would go into the producer's room and he would ask to watch the video of him appearing on Meet the Press with the sound off, because Trump knew that a massive amount of TV is what you see, right? It's not what you say, it's what you see. And so as an example, but anyway, so downstairs I watch Fox News and I flip. I can do the last channel, just one button, and it goes to CNN. So I'll go back and forth to them to see sort of what CNN is saying, what Fox is saying, and in between. It's really helpful. It's helpful in the sense that you sort of need to know what the left is consuming and how they're being brainwashed. And it's really striking. The only thing that's common between the two channels is every time they go to commercial, it's a pharmaceutical commercial. I mean, every time. Aimed at old people, I suppose, who are the largest demographic watching daytime TV. But incredible pharmaceutical companies, one after another, and of course on Fox you get a MyPillow ad in every now and then. So, but we are where we are. Voter confidence is incredibly low, and in the old days, politicians and political pros would say, low turnout. You want low turnout if your people are spirited. Right. So let's say right now, the opposition to what's going on in the country, the creeping socialism, it's not so creeping. It's like sweeping socialism. It used to be creeping. Creeping socialism is a phrase that was coined by a writer named John T. Flynn in 1949. He wrote a book called The Road Ahead. John T. Flynn had been a supporter of FDR, a journalist, somebody who was totally for the left. And as he saw what FDR did, he totally turned on him. And by 1949, he wrote a book called The Road Ahead. And he used the phrase for the first time, creeping socialism. Well, we're past creeping socialism. It's sweeping socialism. You can see that. And so here we are. So, but back to my point. The voter confidence, usually when turnout is low, you would say the people who are most upset, energetic, win. So in 2018, for example, turnout wasn't that big. Off-year elections are not so, turnout's not so high. And it was the people that were so upset about Trump and they wanted to vote Democrat and they swept in, right? In 2022, the question is, obviously a lot of Americans, conservatives, more conservative people are saying, wait, this is too far, too fast. There's a lot of people that feel that the Biden plan wants to raise taxes, wants to hyphenate all Americans, wants to give in to the transgender movement, wants to, battle everybody in wars all over the world. Although thankfully he's not really doing that. He certainly seems to be more, I give him credit. He's pulling people out of Afghanistan. Hopefully we'll see if it happens. But anyway, this should be an election where more conservative voters, in this case, Republicans, should win. Except, do you know who doesn't believe that elections matter? Do you know who thinks that the elections that they have very little confidence in the system? All the Trump voters. And what you hear smart politicians and analysts say is the difference maker in 2020, what got so many Republicans across the line at so many levels, state legislature, statewide offices, certainly the House of Representatives and even Senate, when everybody expected it to be a washout, was the Trump voters. The Trump voters were an add-on to the usual coalition of Republicans. And I can tell you, Trump voters are beside themselves. They're despondent. They don't believe the system will work. And they see, by the way, it doesn't matter what the whole truth is. If somebody's out there and says, well, in my local race, we can control it. We have a good person. I don't know. I just told you a story about Florida where a local election looks like it was swung. But it doesn't matter how we got to this. What matters is what people believe. And the job of leaders is to change the direction by understanding where people are. And that's the thing we have to worry about. That's the question we have to do. What can we do about voter confidence? One thing is more transparency. In Arizona right now, we're trying to have an audit. Now the argument amongst the left is you're not allowed to have an audit because it's not transparent enough. The reason we have an audit is because none of the election was transparent enough, it seems. At least that's how we feel. When as Mike Lindell said on Jimmy Kimmel the other day, he said, we just don't even know. All these people said, trust us. We don't even know. Nobody got to see under the hood of everything. And again, whether you think it would change the election or not, I don't. At this point, it doesn't change who's president. The system worked the way it worked. The system protected us from instability, from a hung election, from chaos. But it doesn't mean that it was right how it happened. And it doesn't mean that it was good enough for confidence. And it doesn't matter how we got here. Robert Kennedy Jr. sued, I think, California in 2004, maybe it was 2005, over the election systems that he said didn't give enough confidence to the people that their vote counted. Robert Kennedy Jr., not exactly a card-carrying Republican or conservative, right? So the concerns about voter confidence, when they come up, they're worth addressing head on. And what we have to believe right now, what we have to know is that voter confidence is way down, and it will be a factor if we want to stop the sweeping socialism that's happening. If you want to stop what's happening, you need to understand that it's not the left. The left doesn't care. They think the system worked fine. 30% of them think that the system was not good too, but most of them think it was fine. And they'll vote the way they're going to vote. But for we the people, and especially for Trump voters and conservatives, voter confidence is down. How do we get to the bottom of it? Well, right now, the grassroots need to demand that there be real reform in the states. Georgia passed some reform. It wasn't as good as people say, and it wasn't the reaction was such an overreaction, and it was engineered by the left. They didn't want to lose that. They didn't like the bill, but it wasn't a really good bill. It was an okay bill, pretty good in Georgia, the law. But what the left did was they weaponized it, and they made Major League Baseball pull out, and all these corporations and the Chamber of Commerce, and everybody got agitated, and they called it racist, racist, racist. And other states, like Texas right now, are not passing reform because they're afraid of what they saw happen in Georgia. So we, the people, grassroots, have to recognize that if we don't address the voter confidence problem and put in the kinds of reforms that give people confidence and understand that people are going to call us names, you won't win another election. You won't win any elections. And it won't be just the top races. You won't win them because you won't get participation. This is a challenge of campaigns. but you also won't win it because I think the system will be likely, lack of transparency. I'm not able to see what's going on, and problematic, deeply so. So it's a major problem, the voter confidence. We've got to address it, and there's some folks that are looking at it, so we've got to get after that. So that's my point for today. And, as you watch what's happening, do that CNN Fox, do the last channel flip to keep yourself in the mindset of what CNN is doing. It really is helpful as long as you can handle it. Like I said, if you flip back and forth, you just get a couple minutes of it, so you don't lose your mind. So, all right, everybody, good to talk. We'll be back. Pass this on to other people. Share it. Oh, I did a great interview with Alan Dershowitz on my radio show yesterday about the progressives and big tech and how they are the threat to free speech right now. Really interesting interview. You want to go over to proamericareport.com and you can read it, listen to it there, or go in my social media feeds. You'll find it there. Really good interview with Alan Dershowitz. All right. Talk to you later, everybody.